And the class is live. Hello, this is Nellie Deutsch, and we're on MMVC18, day 3. We've got this session and 2 more that follow. People are going to be coming in as we go, so feel free to add to the chat box, say where you're from, let me know if you can hear me, and exchange ideas. This is about flipped learning, so hopefully you've watched the videos and have taken a look at the information that was shared with you in the various areas. So if you haven't, this is your chance to take a look. If you don't know anything about blended learning, it's a good idea to check out. Some of the videos are here, so you'll have a chance to also view them. Flip learning doesn't work unless you do the homework first, or at least you do the work before you get here. So let me just check to make sure that our presenter is here, and we'll get started. Excellent. All right, so a little bit about our presenter. Our presenter is Jim Baker, who's coming to us from the UK. He calls himself a self-identifying maverick. He's been teaching for 48 years. Naturally, he started before he was born, but that's okay. He's written for The Guardian, and majority of his career he spent as a chemistry teacher, which is a nice change for us English language teachers to have other content area teachers with us. At Lincoln Christ Hospital School, he was awarded a Lifetime Achievement Award, and currently he is a freelance education consultant, and he's also acted as a chemistry expert for the Chemistry Journey Project's virtual school initiative. You can see him in the photo there. Okay, I believe that's real. It's not Photoshop. He is also a contributing author of Teaching Secondary Science, Constructing Meaning and Developing Understanding, 4th edition. He's a pioneer of flipped learning and trans-educationalists worldwide on flipped learning and cloud computing. So it gives me great pleasure to pass on the mic to our presenter. So let me do that, and then I'll get the, actually there's a lot of information here. So it's not just one PowerPoint, it's a few, a few things here. Now let me just get rid of my face there. We want you. So I don't know if you can see here, but if you hover your mouse over each of these from left to right or right to left, you'll see the wayward forward is the first one. Okay, next to that is student engagement in the e-learning environment, a PDF file. Next to that is flipped learning, also PowerPoint. And the next to that is, the bios that I can get rid of because you don't need that. And next to that is the flipped classroom model. That's a video. And there's another of that. So it's all there. And if you need anything, I'll be here. Let me know.
Right, thank you very much, Nellie. Can you hear okay?
Wonderful audio.
Good. So, am I okay to start now?
Yes, please.
Well, hello everybody, and thank you very much again, Nellie, for giving me this opportunity to pass on my ideas. Now, many people, when people ask what I do, I say I'm an entertainer. I'm just thinking what Judy was saying in her presentation yesterday about the theatre that, well, anybody learns only if they're having fun. Hence the word entertainer. Many people give presentations on flipped learning, but all they do is talk for 50 minutes and put slides up. So this was the idea of giving you all the information beforehand so that you could read up about it and come here this evening and question me. This is the way I work in school, and this is the way I like to work when I'm giving a presentation. I like to be put on the spot. It is a complete waste of time, me giving you information that you can read up beforehand. What I like to do is to give you a hands-on experience of how I work. Again, please feel free to question me, stop me, and ask me at any time during this presentation if there's anything that you don't understand. Now, I'm going to share the screen with you. And hopefully you will be able to see my Google Drive. Are you all able to see the Google Drive? Am I able to get people speaking to me? To acknowledge?
Right now, you're not screen. Well, we don't see the screen. You're not screen.
Can you see the personal presentation links? Can you see the screen? If I Can you see the screen now? You should be able to see the screen. Nellie?
Sorry, Jim, I was muted. You have to go to what you want to share with us. You have to go, right, this is fine. Just
So, can you see
Yeah,
where it says presentation links?
Yeah, but you have to be there. You have to stay there. You can't come back to us.
Right,
Because
okay. So you can see the screen now?
Yes.
Right, so how I work with my students, what I tell them is, when I'm in class with you, you should not be doing anything with me that you don't need me for, that you can do on your own. Likewise, I shouldn't be doing anything with you in the classroom that a non-specialist could do. So all this information is on Google Drive, which the students can access from day one. It's a 2-year course, so from day one, they have access to all this information. So they have a teaching scheme, and you can see there are 2 teachers, myself and my colleague Margaret. So on here is the different chapters that we each teach. So on my chapter 18, rates of reaction, then on the sections of the chapter, there is a hyperlink to a PowerPoint. So all this is accessible from the phones, tablets, etc., from any device, anywhere. So that is the first thing they get to start with. There's one for the lower sixth and one for the upper sixth. Then there is something called Twidgicate. So I gave you on the notes prior to this, I gave you a login. So if I log into this, I can put all my classes on here, on this platform. So if I go to my sixth form, if I open the class, then myself or any of my students can post on there and the rest of the class can see it. So my students can post on there any information that they want to share. So one of my students, Susanna, she actually put a link on there which was to some information regarding some work, and that enabled the rest of the group to see it. So again, this all helps in giving the students control of their own learning. So as well as the interaction feature there, at the bottom is the whole of the 2 years course. So these are all the learning links for all the modules. So they just have to click on any of those and straight away that will take them to resources regarding that topic. Also, I employ the Google Calendar. So if I click on the Google Calendar, I share a Google Calendar with each of my 2 sixth form groups. So if I click on, I'm going to go now to September. So if I go to September the 13th, which I have the students on a Thursday, that's the year 13 lesson. If I click on that, then you can see that they are doing chapter 22. So there's a hyperlink down here, chapter 22. If they click on that, that will give them the resources for that lesson. So prior to that lesson, then there are resources there. I've also got my online tuition notes there, which I do on a tablet, because with teaching chemistry, you can't really use a keyboard for equations, etc. So I can save all these notes that are done on a tablet and again make them accessible to my students. So I just click on one of the boards and here they are now. One of my students said because it's a 2-year course, and at the end of the course they have an exam on the 2 years, he said rather than having to go from chapter to chapter, can you have all those things in one place, which I did. So on my Google Drive, you can see the complete year 12-13 chemistry course with references. So if you click on that, there are 20, I'll tell you when it comes up, there are, on the lower 6th, which is year 12, then that goes from lesson 2 up to 17, and going back, the year 13 lessons cover chapters 18 to 29. So at the end of the course, they have the whole 2 years worth of resources all in one place. And again, a lot of people think of flipped learning as telling students to watch a video, which we'll talk about next lesson, but I regard it as the whole package, i.e. from day one, they have resources for the whole 2 years course. So last October, I was off school for a month because I had a mini stroke, and in fact I got an email from one of the students saying it didn't really matter that you weren't here, sir, because the way you worked, we were able to get on with the work fine. Another advantage of this is that you get through the work a lot faster because the lessons are spent interactively. So the students do their so-called homework, the questions, in class when I'm there to help them. The reason for that is 3 years ago, one girl was doing a question in the class and I could see a worried look on her face, and I asked her what the matter was, and she said, "Oh, I can't get the model answer in the back of the book." "Oh, let me have a look," I said. So I walked over, had a look, and I said, "You won't get the answer in the back of the book because that's wrong. The one that you did was correct." So a face lit up and off she went with the other questions. Had I set that for conventional homework for them to do at home, that girl would have spent 3 hours trying to get an answer that was incorrect, and 2-3 hours wasted. And this method does work. The comments in the guest book support this. Now, if I'm hoping that some of you have got, I'm going to move that now, and I'm getting back onto the, hopefully the, yes, here we are. So what I'm hoping for now is a discussion and people, hopefully with questions, saying, well, you say this, but a typical question is, what about the student that doesn't do the homework? Then they won't work like this. But my experience is that they will. The disenchanted students do not work because they have no control of the work. They take a sheet home with questions on. They may get stuck on question 2. There is nobody to ask, so why bother? Whereas they are far more likely to watch a video or read some text in preparation for the lesson. Also, they will often find a YouTube video that they can get on with better than the suggested ones, and then we can add that to the resource bank. The whole idea is giving the students empowerment of their own learning, and this is so important.
Jim, you're still sharing.
Am I sorry?
Yeah, you need to go to the thread. Just, that's it.
Sorry. Now, are other people able to ask questions rather than type them, or?
I can give everybody audio, but the only thing is people who don't have a headset, and since, Jim, you don't have a headset yourself, we're going to be echoing. So, you know, we could do that.
I mean,
there's a lot of echoes.
What is the best way for people? Because I want as many questions as possible. This is the way I work in class, and this is the way I work here. That the idea is that this time is not wasted, me giving information that the audience can read beforehand. Okay, I want questions that the audience hopefully will have to ask me about my way of working.
Okay, so what I'm doing, I'm giving everybody audio rights. There's a new whiteboard. Okay, there's a new whiteboard. Everybody can write their questions on the whiteboard, if that's okay. All right. There's
can I answer them audibly?
There's a T. There's a T there if you want to add your questions. Go to the T and don't do it freehand, because that's going to be problematic. Okay, is that okay, Jim?
Yes.
And you'll see from their pointer, you'll see their names. Okay, let's see. Right. Don't be shy, people. There's a question.
Can I answer like this, or do I have to type the answer?
No, you can speak.
Right. So, how do I conduct my classes now? In fact, when we had a young trainee teacher come in, he came to me, he'd obviously seen my articles, and he said, "Oh, you're the guy that doesn't plan lessons." I said, "How can I plan lessons? I don't know what's going to happen." So I go in the lesson, the students have done the preparation for the lesson. So we just start off, has anybody any questions? If anybody's no questions, they can be working on questions. I tell them to choose questions that they are going to struggle with, because conventionally the teacher gives the same question sheet to all the students. And the students that are getting 10 out of 10 are wasting their time doing things they can do. So all my students are doing something different. So they are trying things that they're struggling with, as opposed to all doing the same thing. And again, this is all part of getting them to use their time effectively. So if an inspector came into one of my classes, he'd probably sack me on the spot because it doesn't follow the conventional method. But if you look at the test is reading the comments in my guest book, and I think they prove that this does work. And also the results bear this out. And the last academic year, the exam was in May, June, but I had finished the syllabus in November, which means the students had all those months to practice exam papers. and the same will happen this year. I will have finished on the 15th of November. The only planning I do is I know what topic is going to be done in a lesson. How the lesson pans out is often governed by the students. And we are not rushed. If one particular part of the topic a lot of the students are struggling with, this method allows plenty of time for any difficult parts. But the proof of the pudding is in the results and in the engagement of the students. In fact, I was asked by the students, said, why couldn't we have worked like this lower down the school? But as I say, I retired in 2008, so I just go into school one day a week now to teach the A-level chemists. And they are now putting pressure on other members of staff to work this way. So my lessons aren't structured as many are. It depends, as I say, it depends what questions the student asks. Students will be doing different things. In fact, some students will be helping other students. They will be explaining to other students a question, which again helps them. So it is very interactive. It's not, I'm here, I call it force feeding. And the fact, it probably is in other countries, but certainly in the UK, the fastest growing industry is private tuition. And what does that say about the educational system here? It's just not fit for purpose. Otherwise, it wouldn't be the fastest growing industry. And the private tuition I do, it's normally from students from top rated schools. And I said, why do you need tuition? Well, the teacher comes in, just puts a PowerPoint up, rushes through it. They don't like questions. I know a lot of teachers, certainly for chemistry, do not like questions, particularly if they're challenging questions and they don't know the answer. So they put the students down. Whereas I thrive on questions because this is how, to me, this is how lessons should be. The student's in control and you are there just as another resource. Put there that the teacher must be well. I say, I wouldn't say I was well prepared. I'm well prepared in that, mind you, with teaching chemistry for 48 years, I should know my subject, but touch wood, most of the questions that the students ask, yes, I can answer. You said how many students write, record assignments on, there aren't any projects. With chemistry, they have to do certain practical assignments, which my colleague Margaret, that you saw on the sheet there, Margaret is in 5 days a week, so she does mainly the practical, so that if they don't finish one lesson, they can continue the next day. So apart from that, there aren't any projects. And if they can take what notes they like, but they have textbooks. If I put anything on the board, what they will often do is to get out their mobile phone and photograph the board. Why write things down when you can photograph it? Also, I don't mark books. If a student has a problem in the evening, say with a question, they can email me. I will then write out the question on an A4 piece of paper, photograph it with my phone, and email it to them straight away. So they have the answer when they need it, when they're struggling with the question, not having to wait until the following lesson. And it doesn't take, it takes possibly 5 minutes. A lot less time than needlessly marking a set of books because the school thinks that's good. I am fortunate. I wished other teachers were given this freedom. I'm fortunate that the school lets me do this because I wouldn't work there if they didn't. Attendance is required because it is a school, even in the sixth form, and the students are asking questions all the time. It isn't like a classroom. They're asking questions to me, they're asking questions to the colleagues. The practical activities, as I said, they do the practicals with Margaret because she is in every day of the week. So they have to be able to do certain skills like titration, heating, weighing. So they do those skills with Margaret, the other teacher. So yes, they can use mobiles. Again, what is crazy, most schools confiscate mobiles. You wouldn't dream of stopping a child going into the library. So how silly is it for schools to confiscate mobile phones from students when they are the biggest source of information in the school? And certainly with the sixth form, my experience is they do use them sensibly. And it is so easy. So within a lesson, students can be emailing information to other students. If a student's struggling with something and another student thinks, oh, yes, I did that question last night, I've got a good resource on that, they will email it them. So it's very interactive. They aren't doing an online lab, they do the experiments in class. So there is all the equipment and all the chemicals actually in the lab. The students are engaged, particularly when they are doing questions. I can actually look at the students and you can actually see the cogs turning round because they are engaged. Whereas in normal lessons, they may be quiet, but just because a student is quiet doesn't mean to say the cogs are turning. And it's all about the learning. By learning, I mean understanding, not rote learning. In chemistry, the problem is being able to apply the knowledge to answer questions. So a student may be able to quote a chapter word for word, but still not be able to answer questions. I don't know about other subjects, but certainly for chemistry, the way to understand is by answering questions. And the students have now realized that. How do integrating theory with practical, the practical tasks that they have to do, they will be done after the theory of it is done in class. So once they've done the theory, they will put that theory into practice in the practical lessons. So now with the new A-level, it's like if in a driving test, if you fail the first time, you can have another go. So it's the same. If they fail a practical skill, they can improve on that and retake it. Unlike the old practical exam, which was just a pass or fail. So again, the practical is more of a learning experience rather than a pass or fail exam. Is this, I don't call it teaching, I call it entertaining, because I feel that the word teaching conjures up this person at the front force feeding information. How does this style of educating appeal to you? Does it make sense? Could I have any comments, please? Thank you. I 4 years ago, I trained a school in Cyprus on this, and last year I got an email from the head teacher saying how well it's gone, both from the point of view from the teachers, from the parents, and from the students. And in fact, when I went to Cyprus 4 years ago to the school, I did what I have done with you. I actually sent all the material to the school beforehand, and I held an audience with the teachers, the parents, the PTA, and the students, so they could grill me on my ideas. Not many people like that. They like to give a presentation and scoot off before the questions come in. But that's not how it should be. And I say to you, as I say to the students, I should not be doing anything here with you that you don't need me for, i.e. read all that information you had beforehand. You can read that yourself. And it is not about learning. How often have we heard, oh, you must learn this? I've actually put in that book, and I always tell my students, there's only two things I have to remember. One is my name, and two is where I live. Anything else I can Google. So it's applying the knowledge. That is the skill. And this is what the student should be doing in that valuable hour that you're with them. Applying the knowledge to answer questions. Not being given knowledge. They don't need to be given knowledge. They can get that. What the teacher should be doing is to helping the students make sense of that knowledge that they've got for themselves. The material online, to put it all, well, as I gradually went, the course started in 2015. It was a new course. So as we went through it, as I got to each chapter, then I would prepare the notes for each chapter. But to put it on, organize it on Google Drive, when the student said all the separate lessons that you've got on the Google Calendar, could you put them all in one place? Then it took me, 2 hours to do that. It does look a time-consuming task, but working with Google is wonderful. Learning is not a passion for many. It is not a passion for many because the way it's done. You will sit there and listen, and you will answer the questions I'm asking. The reason I'm asking these questions is I researched them last night. That's not how it should be. It should be, I'm here to answer your questions. I'm here to sort out your problems. I see when not everything can be Googled without risk. I see what you're saying. This is why I like to give Google the Google sites, but certainly at sixth form level, there are so many super sites out there that are reliable that I actually saw on Facebook that France is now going to ban mobile phones for children in schools up to the age of 15. To me, this is crazy. What should happen is, from early on, students should be taught how to use phones productively. Now, if anybody has still got questions after this, they can can I leave my email? Is that okay? So if anybody still wants more information or wants talking through, say, the Google Calendar, then please get in touch. In fact, in view of the EduFest festival in 2 weeks' time, I have met online a lot of teachers from Belarus. And in fact, 2 weeks ago on Skype, I gave a presentation on using Google Docs, using voice typing, using how to translate documents. And it's wonderful. All my private tuition is now done online, because for each lesson I create a folder in Google Drive for my students. So one lad from Hong Kong, it goes from lesson 1, I think he had 70 something lessons, it goes from lesson 1 to say 74. There's the date of the lesson, which lesson it was, and the topic of the lesson. So he has all those 74 files all ready to look at. And also doing it online, it's so easy to send a file, whereas if you visit and write on paper, it's so easy for it to get lost. I hope I've not bored you with what I say. I'm so passionate about this. At my age, well, I did officially retire 10 years ago, but I'm so infuriated with what happens in schools that I want to bring about change if possible. And I'm very grateful for the number of people that do seem to take on board what I'm saying.
Hey, Jim, have you
Yes?
tried the Google Classroom?
In fact, I can't use it at school because a school has to register.
No, it's quite free. It's free now. You don't have to register. I mean, you don't have to register as a school. You can register as Jim Baker.
I can register as Jim Baker, but
It's now free.
I cannot use it with my students at the school.
But you can privately.
I can privately, but I can't with the students at the school. And I'm still so frustrated at the attitude of the school towards Google.
Yes.
In fact, your friend Nevis, she actually taught me through Google Classroom and helped me set one up on Skype.
That's great, because Google Classroom with Google Drive go together really well. Plus, you can have the audio, the video, screen sharing. There are many, Screencast-O-Matic goes with the Google Classroom. There are many extensions of Chrome that go with the Google Classroom so that you can really enrich your courses, the interactions. So it's not just content and find the content, ask your questions. The questions and everything can be done through the Google Classroom. It's not as good as Moodle for anyone who's listening to me. I'm not advocating this as opposed to Moodle, but Google Classroom, if you don't have Moodle, is the second best.
Would it be of use of, it wouldn't be much use of as one-to-one, would it?
Oh, yes, it would be. I've used it, yep, for tutoring, excellent. One-on-one.
So on one-to-one tutoring as well?
It's absolutely fantastic. And you can get parents, if you're teaching younger learners, you can also get parents to come in so that the parents can see what their kids are doing. They can maybe help them out. It's really good. If you like Google Drive, then it would go really well with the Google Classroom.
I mean, Nevis spent about an hour talking me through creating a Google Classroom, and I've actually set it up for a student that I'll be privately tutoring from September. So I'm going to give that a go, because
If you
it
need
did look
help,
impressive.
if you need help, Jim, I've been using it with my classes where Moodle is not used, for example, in K-12, junior high, 12 to 14-year-olds, and it works brilliantly for the class as a group and individually. So if you need help, just contact.
Right, thank you very much. In fact, I was told at one stage that I couldn't use Google. I gave all my students a Gmail address so we could interact and they could with the calendar. I was told that I couldn't do that, so I said I would leave if they stopped me.
That sounds familiar. Yep.
It's so frustrating that the people, the decision makers and the people with the purse strings are just not IT savvy at all.
So are there any other questions? This has been brilliant, Jim. I want to thank you, and I want to thank everybody for joining us. It's really food for thought, and I think that if teachers like you, even though you're retired, so maybe you can allow people to say, well, he can say what he wants because he's retired. But I've been fighting the system for close to 40 years. I'm close to you, but not quite, not 48 yet. But it's really hard, and I've also left schools because they wouldn't let me use technology. So I know what you're talking about. I think if teachers, they need us, just as much as we need, them. I mean, to
Yes.
get a salary.
I mean, when
They will not fire us if we stand up to what we believe in.
Fortunately, with training people abroad, with the articles and with the book, I feel that helped. But when I was actually asked by the school if I could behave myself when the inspectors came in, and I said no, I say what I believe in. I'm not going to behave myself. So they said, if they come in on your day in, we will send you home with the naughty boys.
Funny. But that's how it is. But we all have to stand up like Jim. We have to stand up and put our foot down and say, this is how we want it. We want to use Google. We want to use Google Classroom if you've got the Google Classroom. And we need to persuade the system that this is the best way to go. And
Now,
I promise you, they won't fire you. They may make faces, but they will not fire you.
I think they enjoy the ethos of having a 71-year-old still teaching at their school.
You mean a 71-year, not old, young as my father.
Yes.
71-year young.
Now, I've seen quite a few email addresses on there, which I've not been able to obviously assimilate, but you've all got mine. So if you could email me first, and if anybody wants a Skype session, then I'm willing to do this. If you're younger than 50, you're still a baby in my eyes.
Yeah, we're getting there. Thank you so much, Jim. We're going to session has 198.
Do I sign out at the?
No, you're fine. Don't go anywhere.
Right.
Just keep smiling. Our next session is about Google Box. It should be quite exciting, as so far there are, let me see the numbers. There are, let me give you the latest number of registration, 199. So if you join, we'll pass the 200. So let's see how many show up. Because for your session, Jim, over 60 joined, registered.
Really?
So all those will get their recordings. People register to get the recordings. Otherwise, they don't get the recordings. So that's why they registered, but maybe they couldn't make it. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Jim. I hope this is the first of many, because I'm going to keep asking you. There are lots of other online events, and I hope you'll present there as well, and maybe teach us a little bit of chemistry.
Well, that is an incentive to stay alive.
Yes. Because I used to love chemistry, and I wouldn't mind